Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Raiden. Now this is a question that's been rolling around in my head ever since that orc debacle. And I'll touch on that a little bit later, but did Critical Role ruin Dungeons & Dragons? And the fact that this is a legitimate question should give us a clue as to what the answer may be. Now let's rewind a little bit before we get to the now. Now when I encountered Critical Role for the first time, I was clicking through Twitch looking for gameplay of a video game that I always wanted to buy and I wanted to see someone playing it. So I go to the Browse tab and right near the top is that red box AD&Ds. But looking under it, I see there's tens of thousands of people watching this. I'm like, what? So I click into it and it says Geek and Sundry, voice actors playing dungeons and whatever. So I click into that and the session's already going, and I'd later come to know that this was their first arrival in Vasselheim. You know, with the pit fight with the hammer and Grog should I have a fancy fort name? Philip. And I was enthralled. I sat there and I watched the entire 4 hours of it. And as a player, that's what I remember. Sitting around a table laughing and having a good time with my friends. So the member berries there were potent. About halfway through the run of the first campaign, it changed though. They stopped playing Dungeons & Dragons and started play-acting D&D. Kind of like a semi-scripted Curb Your Enthusiasm type of thing where this is what's going to happen, we have to get to this point in the story by the end, any way you can. So it stopped being an actual play session and started being kind of a stage show. And I noticed this and I was fine with it because I was entertained, and as a player I know that's not how a session actually goes. But now the show was getting very popular and all these new people were being drawn into it. People who've never played before and this was their first encounter with it. You know, these ultra-liberal theater kids that are just primed to be hollowed out by the coming nothing and twisted into the hive mind husks that they are today. And they saw this semi-scripted stage play and they wanted to play it too. And at this point I now ask, did Critical Role ruin Dungeons & Dragons? Well, for these new people who came into this game with a wild misconception of how it's actually played, yeah, it was ruined for them. Because when they found out how the game was actually played, they wanted to change everything about it. Which brings us to the orcs. Ah yes, the orcs. Where you segregationist pricks just crawled out of the woodwork thinking you were so righteous. Like you had any right to speak for me. The only thing you Kyles and Karens working at Wizards of the Coast has a right to do is go back to your cul-de-sacs and shut the fuck up. And if I hear any of you chodes using Latinx unironically, I'm flagging you for hate speech. How's that sound? Using your own bullshit against you. How about we run a little scenario here, using their messed up worldview. Okay, I'll be the DM, you be the players. Okay, here we go. Now you come upon the orcish encampment at around sundown. Wafting in the air is the telltale scent of frying chicken, the very same chickens that were plundered in the raid earlier today. And permeating the air all around is the rhythmic thumping drone of music, most likely in celebration of the successful pillage. The loud music combined with the long shadows of the setting sun help conceal your approach to the encampment, where you hide behind a cart of freshly harvested watermelon that was also stolen from the village earlier today. Crouched by the cart, you remember what the village elder tasked you to do. Not to take revenge for the earlier raid or to recover what was stolen, but to parley with War Chief DeBrickashaw in an effort to get them to turn the music down. The party is still unnoticed by the cart. What's everyone gonna do?
I'm a little offended by the scenario.
Really? Which part?
I don't like that we're telling them to turn their music down. We should be embracing the Afro-Hispano-Orcish culture of the Sword Coast and celebrating the diversity therein.
What are you even... The what orcish culture of the Sword Coast?
And on a side note, do we really have to roll the dice? I mean, the sound it makes when it hits the table is a little aggressive and it makes me uncomfortable.
No, rolling the dice is how... just leave the table. Leave my table. Give me your character sheet. What kind of character sheet is this? There's no class or alignment, stats, not even any equipment. There's just your name and your pronouns.
I think we should change the rules to accommodate what I want.
No, we're not doing that. We're not changing everything that's worked for decades just because it's popular now, and now you want to commandeer it and twist it to fit your vile worldview. Now get out of here. Now, Critical Role appealed to experienced players like myself, but it also brought in this gaggle of toxic green hairs. Posers that just want to dismantle and destroy just so they can insert their own agenda. A burgeoning phenomenon then, but commonplace now. And it begs the question again, did Critical Role ruin D&D? For those of us experienced players, no, it didn't. If anything, it showed you what was good about it. Because we know how the game's actually played. We know that if we don't like something about the game, we can just change it. There's not a damn thing Wizards of the Coast can do about it. You could run the most crass and offensive game you want, and there's nothing they can do to affect your table. So how about this? In my next campaign, there's going to be an Eastern Asian looking trade gang that assassinates all their enemies by shoving chopsticks up their sinuses into their brains. What are you going to do about that, Wizards of the Coast? That's right, nothing. Now, if you got some player at your table who's crying every session because his backstory is just so tragic, get rid of him. Party's just like, dude, come on. We're trying to sneak up on this orc raiding party to steal their enchanted hot sauce and their +1 serapes, and you sobbing all the time increases our sneak DC, so kick rocks. Okay, now let me take a moment right here to address the elephant in the room. Now, I know these voice hobbyists. And I call them hobbyists because voice acting is not a profession, it's a hobby that anyone can do. But I know these hobbyists have said some awful stuff on social media, even going so far as to publicly support a known racist in hopes of getting a voiceover job. So I know what kind of posers these people are, but I'm separating art from artist here. Wrapping it up now, did Critical Role ruin Dungeons & Dragons? Yes, because of the false expectation that they seeded in the newcomers of what this game actually is, thereby leading to the brigading of the parent companies into changing the rules into what the hive mind demands that they be. But also no to us experienced players, because we know that we don't have to listen to a damn word of it, and we can do whatever the hell we want at our table. But that's us, the experienced players, the OGs, because we're the ones that had to endure the satanic panic and everything that came with it, and kept playing right on through it. And Critical Role came along and popularized it, made it a target for the nothing to devour and destroy, which it's currently in the midst of doing. And some of you younger generations out there might say, another old dude complaining about the past. Like, yeah, I am. Because we wanted you to experience the cool stuff we had as we first experienced it. Not this agenda-riddled garbage. Now you're going to be left with this crap game where you can't have any battles because all the orcs are minorities and all the dragons are Native Americans sitting on their piles of casino gold. If you're a white male that wants to play, you have to pick another white male character. It's probably lawful evil, no less. So asking one last time, big picture. Did Critical Role ultimately ruin D&D? Yeah, they did. Not for us experienced players though, but for those players that have yet to find this, all they're going to find is a debased and twisted facsimile. This birthed Quado of the nothing that Mercer was complicit with. No classes, no racial bonuses, no enemies because they're all representative minorities. No fun and no point to it. So at this point I'm out. I have no interest in Campaign 3. Campaign 2 was boring as hell. That Lucian crap went on forever, and all the characters in that campaign sucked. It's like they made those characters off what they thought the audience wanted to see or what they wanted to make good fan art of, not because they liked them or thought they'd be fun. They wanted a virtue signal with them. That was very apparent early on. And then there was that whole Villia debacle that was obviously scripted. Because if I was in that position and someone I was playing with didn't want to play two characters, I would do everything in my power to make that person play two characters, just to mess with them. But she's banging the DM, so she gets special treatment, and that is the most authentic D&D thing you will ever see on that show. And that's when I checked out, but I still kept watching because I didn't realize then, but I was habitually watching it. Not because I liked it or because I was interested, but it was part of my routine. Thank goodness for COVID, right? Break some habits.